Hey guys, I ran across a vegan YouTuber. I've spoke of her before. Don't really care for her content because she talks about the keto diet like she actually knows what she's talking about, and I think it's just the process that she goes through to try to discredit keto as much as she possibly can. Even if she's right or wrong, it's just a way to get information out there bad about keto. She's talking about this new Milla Jovovich article. I think it was like April 12th that it was put out, and there are like Yahoo and People and all these other people did articles on this stuff because you know they're going to run with it. It's a celebrity, and she talks about how it's hard to sustain and that it's very restrictive. When you look at keto in the grand scheme of things, the restriction is on the sugar, it's on the starchy carbs and stuff like that. So if you are having a hard time cutting that stuff out of your life, then maybe it's a sign that you're addicted to sugar and carbs, starchy stuff in general, pastas, rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like that, that can cause a glycemic, that have a glycemic index to them that can cause insulin spikes and blood sugar spikes. Now, we know that there's a purpose for insulin, but you get plenty of insulin spiking in general, just normal processing with keto. It's not like it's non-existent, but people are going to run with this now. So it's something that's going to pop up. People are going to start using this as fuel for their fire because they're happy that a celebrity comes forward and says something to the extent of, keto didn't work for them. It was hard to sustain for them. It was restrictive and stuff like that. I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing to talk about stuff like that because I think it's good, especially if somebody comes forward and says, look, I just couldn't sustain it. They didn't really say anything bad about it. But then you have YouTubers that come along and like to use what somebody says as fuel for their fire and their content on their channel, talking about this person said something bad about the keto diet. That's not necessarily the case. They just simply stated it didn't work for them. And what they're doing is they're going more 80% plant-based, and then they're getting protein sources from other sources outside of plants, the other 20%, which that's fine. Live and let live, no big deal. But when you see vegan YouTubers take that and run with it, I just seen a what was it, Matt Damon, and the other actor or actress that he was with. She was vegan, and she sat down. I just posted a picture on my post section, not video section, of her basically admitting I sat down to dinner with him and I had a piece of fish, and it was almost like a computation started happening inside my head. Almost like my brain, my taste buds and my body was really starting to be receptive to opening up to having this animal protein, and it almost felt rejuvenating. So, you get this from both sides. You're going to get people that talk bad about it. You're going to get people that talk good about it. You're going to get people that have been vegan for years and years and years, not realizing what they've been missing nutrition-wise when it comes to animal proteins. So, you can give one and you can get one. So here we have the Milla Jovovich thing, but then the celebrity that sat down with Matt Damon. I posted, I forget the girl's name, but it's sad that it could be one little thing that pops up, and then all of a sudden you get some, low subscriber YouTuber that wants to try to hurry up and boost what they're saying or boost their content up or try to draw attention to talking bad about keto or something like that. When they should just be focused more on teaching about vegan criteria rather than debunking carnivores and keto people, because it seems like they're not even interested in tailoring their information to the crowd that they're with anymore. It's more along the lines of talking trash. I read some of the articles that were posted by many of the different magazines or online publishing .coms and stuff like that, and none of them really had anything bad to say about keto. But you listen to a vegan YouTuber talk about it and they'll make it seem like, oh, this person said it's the end of the world because they stopped doing the keto diet and they went to another type of eating, and they didn't even completely go vegan. They're still having some animal protein in there. It's just they changed up their formula. And one of the first things that comes to mind now is we used to say eating enough carbs to stay in a level of ketosis. That could be 80 grams, that could be 60 grams. But then it changed along the way because people were failing to figure out what their carb threshold was. They weren't really paying attention to what they could actually have to sustain a level of ketosis. And we switched it to 50. And then over time, people were saying, 50 net, 50 total, and all this other stuff. They were getting confused. And then, you know, more of the keto doctors and supporters started coming forward and say, look, quit doing the net stuff, start doing total. If you want to achieve a level of ketosis that's a no-brainer, almost anybody can achieve a level of ketosis by eating 20 total carbs per day. And it's not even something that's written in stone for everybody. It's not something that has to be done for every single keto person. So naturally, what are you going to hear? You're going to hear vegan people, small YouTubers and stuff like that that are trying to grow, talk bad about keto. They're going to use this fictitious 20 number and stuff like that when that's just a general rule of thumb. That's not something that's set in stone, like you have to have this many carbs. And it's out of control. You know, it's to the point where any little thing that they can possibly latch onto, that's what they latch onto. And then, you know, in the video it was referenced that you know, animals dying for the need of eating meat and stuff like that, when if we looked at the bigger picture here and we cut out all animal farming in general and everybody went vegan and there was no more crops to be well, not as many crops or farming to be done for animals in general other than just regular eating to sustain their life before they pass, you would still have substantially higher percents in the thousands of killing animals through farming rabbits, hares, possums, raccoons, deer, boar, field mice, squirrels, things of this nature that I've seen firsthand going out to these co-ops and these farmers and stuff that are farming these lands that kill these animals, and that's just a normal process. But when you talk to a vegan, they recognize that there has to be some kind of animal death for their food, regardless of the situation. But even if it's a higher percent by thousands of a percent versus you know, cattle dying, you know, one cow dying versus 1,000 different animals on acres of land dying, it's still a sentient being that has to give up its life. It's still a sentient being that feels pain the same way a cow does, but that is acceptable. That is okay to do because they have to sustain their life. So when it all comes down to it, the question is this: would you give up veganism so you stop killing thousands of animals and start eating more regular protein sources coming from animal products and stop contributing to so much of the agricultural side of things so less animals die, if it's based on ideology and ethics? That's my question.